Gibb, and I really would like to thank you for being with me today. I frequently get asked questions about prostate cancer prevention, what can I do to help my prostate, and it's a very, there's several reasons why you get prostate cancer. I just wanted to review that. So today there's a book that I would highly recommend if anyone wants to purchase it, and it's by Michael Greger, MD, and it's called How Not to Die. And there are several topics in here. The nice thing I just love about the book is he has all the research in here to back up what he is saying. So that takes that away from anybody looking to see, is this truthful? Is he just making this up? So today is about prostate cancer. In 1983, the Dairy and Tobacco Adjustment Act was initiated, and that controlled the National Dairy Board. And since then, they have spent billions of dollars, at least $1 billion on advertising. You always hear the commercials, milk, it does a body good. And my question is, does it really do a body good? And the reason why I'm saying that is we are the only species after infancy to drink milk from another species, meaning cow's milk, goat's milk, etc. And so milk, it does a body good. Now, why am I saying potentially that's not a good thing? Any animal protein contains sex hormones. And as you know, sex hormones regulate estrogen. We've had an abnormal amount of girls that have, it's called precocious puberty, which is early puberty before the age of 11, 12, 13, 14, whenever they start their cycles. And that has grown hugely since, the consumption of dairy milk has increased. So what are some symptoms that people have for precocious puberty? They can get acne, girls can get breast tissue, they can actually start their cycles earlier than recommended, than the 13, 14, 15 age group. So it's also known that women that consume dairy have a 5 times increased chance of having twins. And that's because there's a lot of hormones in the dairy that we consume. One of the things I didn't realize with the dairy industry, that they do continue to milk the cows when the cow is pregnant. And that's when the hormones are the highest. They're just as in, humans, your hormones spike, progesterone spikes, estrogen spikes. And the same thing happens with dairy cows. There was a leading Harvard University researchers, and they expressed concern that the increased growth hormones that are consumed because of dairy consumption can potentially stimulate the growth of tumor-sensitive cancers. So back after World War II, Japanese men, there was a 25-fold increase in prostate cancer. And at that time, there was a 7% increase in egg consumption, a 9% increase in meat consumption, and a 20-fold increase in dairy consumption. So the rest of their diets remained the same. So why did that happen? And people really feel it's because of the hormones in those meat and dairy products. There was it's actually just a literature that says from the Nutritional Journal of Cancer in 2014, it's made by Tate. And they had some prostate cancer cells in a petri dish, and they dripped milk, organic cow's milk, so that hopefully would have less hormones in it, organic cow's milk on the petri dish, and there was a 30% increase in cancer cell growth. They dripped almond milk in a petri dish, and there was decreased cancer cell growth with that. Now, I know ideally that is in a petri dish. It's not really what happens in real life. And so, it's just one of those things that just makes you think. There was a meta-analysis in 2015, and a meta-analysis means there's a group of independent studies that are researching the same thing. So this was in 2015, pretty recent, and it was from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, and AUNE was the author. But this meta-analysis found that there's a high intake of dairy products increases cancer risk, prostate cancer risk. There's another thing that we always hear from the Dairy Association, that milk helps your bones. Now, they do add vitamin D supplementally to milk, but is that just a market ploy? And there was a recent study in 2014 at the British Medical Journal, which is a really renowned journal, and Mickelson was the author, that they suggested there was 100,000 men and women actually were part of this study for 2 decades. So for 20 years, they looked at the research on this. And they found that milk consumption actually increased bone fracture risk. So, does it really help you or doesn't? So that's just another example. Also, there are about 2 million or more men currently living with prostate cancer. And, I just had an email from somebody last week that said, I'm stage 1 prostate cancer. Can I adjust my diet and exercise to help, mitigate this growth of prostate cancer? And I would say yes. There are some studies out there that prove that. And, there's, Gleason scores of 7 and above is more, metastatic types of cancer can grow from that. But that's a scoring system that the physicians use for prostate cancer. So if you are diagnosed with prostate cancer and it's only in the prostate tissue, there is virtually minimal chance in 5 years that you will die from prostate cancer. Of course, your PSA rises as men get older. And the other thing is, if that cancer has metastasized to the bone or other organs, it has been proven that you have a 1 in 3 risk of living past 5 years. So you definitely want to diagnose this early. I'd say, men definitely need to get their PSAs checked. Sometimes they do an MRI just to kind of see if there's anything going on. So what are the symptoms for men that potentially can have issues with the prostate? It can be increased urinary frequency, and mostly at night or during the day. It can be not being able to empty your bladder and urgency. So, and sometimes sexual dysfunction happens with an enlarged prostate. So there are many procedures that can help you to empty your bladder. And the one thing that you have to realize, just structurally, what happens, your prostate is a walnut-sized organ, and upstream is the bladder. So the ureter goes down from the bladder through the prostate and out. So if the prostate enlarges, then the ureter gets compressed and the bladder can't empty. So there's many reasons. So Flomax is also a drug that's can be used to help shrink that prostate tissue. We do have some supplements. It's called Saw Palmetto Plus. It's 2 twice a day. Has saw palmetto, lycopenes, pumpkin seed oil, and other things that can actually help that prostate, that flow through the ureter. There's also called Prostablock, which has Graminex in it, and Graminex is actually from a flower pollen, and that decreases prostate tissue congestion. So what are some things that may contribute to prostate cancer? One of the things we say is that if you eat eggs, there's an ingredient in eggs called choline. And so what does choline do? It's converted in the body into a toxin called methylalamine, and that is oxidized in the liver. Oxidized means, cellular rust and in the liver, and that promotes more cardiac and strokes, MIs and strokes. So that's part of the reason why people die earlier from prostate cancer. So there was also what can you do as a guy to help prevent prostate cancer. A lot of it has to do with your diet. A live whole foods diet, a diet that is devoid or absence of eggs and poultry, and that's been proven. So there's men who consume a standard American diet, which is a lot of white refined foods, less, colors of the rainbow. Their cancer growth rate for prostate cancer increases by 9%. If you have a plant-based diet and you exercise, that suppresses cancer cell growth by 70%. So why not do that? It's people, you don't want to have a cancer diagnosis to start changing your lifestyle. So live whole foods, poultry, which is, chickens and turkey, and egg consumption to a minimum, that would be recommended. But the live whole food is what's the protective part of that. It's the antioxidants that help reduce inflammation. And as you know, and I've said this many times, inflammation is the basis and the root of almost any disease state. So Dean Ornish, he's been known for doing dietary changes, prevention of and reversal of plaque buildup, etc. But he and his colleagues had 93 men, and they had prostate cancer. But they were not willing to go through any procedures. So they were in the watchful waiting period. So that's just watch, your PSAs, change your diet, etc., like that. So, but what they ended up doing, there was two groups. There was a control group that did nothing. They kept and maintained their previous lifestyles. And then there was the experimental group that had lifestyle changes. So they changed their diet to a plant-based diet, and they exercised 30 minutes, 6 days a week. So the results of this were amazing. This plant-based diet, and they had grains, beans, plus walking, 30 minutes, 6 days a week. Actually, they tracked these men. And the control group, which did nothing, that their PSAs, their prostate-specific antigen, increased by 6%. The men with the good dietary changes and exercise reduced their PSAs by 4%. So you might say, well, that's not that much different, but it is a spread of 10%. And then what they did was, before these control versus experimental groups were done, they actually did a prostate biopsy. And this is the thing that really, was surprising to me. The biopsy before and after the dietary changes, they found there was an expression of over 500 genes when the men changed their diet, okay? And so those genes actually help prevent prostate cancer. And they followed these men after 10 years. And after 1 year, 10% of these men actually had to have their prostates removed because the prostate cancer had progressed. And none of the plant-based experimental group had to have surgery. So what does this come down to? Just in summary, foods to avoid: poultry, which is turkey, chicken, eggs because of the choline, increase your exercise, and add a plant-based diet. And that should definitely help the prostate cancer risk. And I'd love to help you with this. There's other things we can do supplementally. Eating flaxseed, ground flaxseed, 2 tablespoons a day, helps prevent progression of prostate cancer too. So I'd love to help you with that. And I'm here to help you have a better life and not have to get up and go to the bathroom 1,000 times a day to disturb your wife. And just give me a call, and I'd love to help you get healthy. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching. If this information was helpful, hit that thumbs up button down below. If you want more videos like this, hit the subscribe button down below, then ring the bell next to it. Also, if you know other people that you would want to share this link with, please do so, because I would love to help them on their journey to good health.